when he comes to a P. Diddy party. This is what happens to the white man. When they come to one of my parties, this is what happens to him.
Oh no, Diddy's really angry this time. Ooh. So he's mad about his Tootsie Roll. Everybody finding out about that. He is mad about, what is he mad about? Throngs of people not coming to the courthouse.
I was up, but I made no excuses. I'm disgusted. I'm so sorry.
They thought they were untouchable until federal agents kicked down the doors and found more than just Diddy at the center of a criminal empire. Hidden among the seized devices, lawsuits, and testimonies was something no one expected. His own sons, Justin and Christian, deeply entangled in the mess. From sex trafficking allegations to a bloody studio shooting, what investigators uncovered wasn't just shocking. It was the blueprint of a carefully protected operation, and the cracks were finally starting to show. And it all started in early 2024, when the walls finally closed in on one of music's most powerful moguls. Federal agents stormed in and arrested Sean Diddy Combs.
All right, we are getting some breaking news right now. ABC News has just confirmed that Sean Diddy Combs was arrested tonight in New York City. Sources say federal agents with Homeland Security investigations took him into custody
on a mountain of charges that read more like a cartel kingpin's rap sheet than the hip-hop legend's resume. We're talking sex trafficking, racketeering, and criminal conspiracy, all allegedly part of a years-long underground operation. It wasn't some sudden takedown. The feds came prepared. They seized a jaw-dropping 96 electronic devices, phones, hard drives, surveillance footage, every tool that could expose just how deep this web went, and deep it went. But what truly triggered this legal earthquake? Cassie Ventura, Diddy's former partner, stepped up first. Her lawsuit blew the lid off the tightly sealed vault. Her claims weren't just about a toxic relationship. She painted a picture of systemic abuse, controlled environments, drugging, coercion, and blackmail. That one filing opened the floodgates.
Cassie Ventura broke down as she summed up the toll her 11-year relationship with Sean Diddy Combs took on her. I didn't want to be alive anymore at that point. The revelation came after 2 full days on the stand in which she detailed the horrific and relentless abuse she said she suffered in the hands of Combs, a man she claimed raped her after they broke up for good.
Within weeks, over a dozen civil suits piled up. Allegations began echoing each other. Same tactics, same victims, same horror stories. The Department of Justice was no longer guessing. They were building. According to prosecutors, Diddy's entire world was a machine.
We heard the testimony of Sheree Hayes, aka The Punisher, another escort that used to work with Cassie and Diddy. And this escort testified that he heard Cassie sigh a few times when she was being directed by Diddy during these freak-offs. He mentioned a lot of the same things that the other escort mentioned on the stand, Daniel Phillip, the way the room was set up.
A machine built to manipulate, control, and exploit. Victims claimed they were drugged, sometimes on hidden camera, sometimes coerced into unspeakable acts while barely conscious. This wasn't random. It was patterned, methodical. There are whispers now of hundreds, even thousands of victims.
In this testimony, they're talking about threesomes, and while some people might not be so jazzed about that, that's something that's happening in the bedrooms of Americans every night across the country. And his testimony also scored some points from the facts.
Okay, that's the best thing you've got for me is it wasn't a freak-off, it was actually a threesome.
Many of whom stayed silent until Cassie cracked the silence. The feds didn't just stumble onto a case. They were unraveling a network. But then, just when the headlines started settling, the story took a darker, unexpected turn. Because now it's not just about Diddy, it's about his sons. Enter Justin and Christian Combs, both pulled into this firestorm, not as bystanders, but named participants. Let's start with Justin. His name popped up in the explosive lawsuit filed by Rodney Lil Rod Jones, a former producer in Diddy's circle. Lil Rod doesn't hold back. He claims Justin wasn't just aware of the disturbing scenes. He was actively involved, allegedly soliciting underage girls and sex workers for these so-called freak-offs that were arranged behind closed doors. It gets worse. The lawsuit even includes a photo of Justin with a girl who was allegedly underage. And while Justin was busy front-facing his influencer image online, behind the scenes, he was allegedly helping fuel the very machine now under federal fire. The lawsuit points straight at him, saying he didn't just participate, he helped facilitate the empire's operation. And remember, This isn't some random accusation from a stranger. This is coming from a man who was in the room, who says he saw it all. Then there's Christian Combs, better known as King Combs. You've probably seen him flashing smiles on red carpets and magazine covers. But in the court filings, he's accused of something far more sinister. A yacht stewardess named Grace Omar K has filed a civil suit stating that Christian sexually harassed her during a party on a luxury yacht catered by Diddy himself.
New audio has surfaced as part of a lawsuit that accuses Christian Combs, Sean Diddy Combs' son, of sexual assault.
She was working that night, sober, professional, while the deck was allegedly flooded with passed out celebrities and sex workers. Liquor bottles everywhere, some reportedly laced. Chaos dressed in designer. She claims Christian was heavily intoxicated, violent, and forced her into sexual acts. And yes, Diddy is listed as a co-defendant here too. Not because he was in the room, but because the entire event, the boat, the guests, the atmosphere, was allegedly orchestrated under his watch. It was his party, his rules. And according to the lawsuit, his silence helped create the conditions where this could happen. September 12, 2022, the night Diddy's Chalice Studios in Los Angeles turned into a scene straight out of a crime thriller. And not the kind anyone wants their name attached to. According to court documents filed by Rodney Lil Rod Jones, what started as another over-the-top gathering ended in gunfire, bloodshed, and a cover-up that would rival anything in Hollywood. It wasn't just chaos, it was coordinated silence. Lil Rod, who filed his civil suit in February 2024, stated that on that night, he was inside the studio with Sean Diddy Combs, Justin Combs, and a man referred to in the filings only as G. At some point, a dispute escalated. Gunshots were fired inside the premises, not outside, not in a drive-by, but inside the walls of a Music Empire's headquarters. Moments later, G was found curled on the bathroom floor in the fetal position, bleeding profusely from his hip and leg. And while Lil Rod tried to help, applying pressure to the wound and calling for someone to dial 911, both Diddy and Justin reportedly disappeared into another room. They didn't panic. They didn't run to help. They just vanished. Lil Rod says he was left holding the chaos, literally, while the two most powerful men in the room backed off like it wasn't their problem. But it didn't stop at abandonment. According to the same lawsuit, once Diddy returned, he didn't check on the victim. He gave orders. He allegedly told Lil Rod to lie to police and blame a drive-by shooter, a totally fabricated story designed to shield both himself and Justin. Diddy's directive was clear. Make sure no one connects us to this. This is where Justin's role becomes legally significant. He wasn't just in the room, he was part of the deception. By remaining silent, allegedly helping Diddy shape the story, and refusing to assist in the investigation, Justin is accused of obstruction of justice and aiding in the cover-up of a shooting. The lawsuit suggests that the studio, much like other locations tied to Diddy's empire, wasn't just a place to create music. It was a hub for illegal activity, carefully managed behind closed doors. And the doors were hiding much more than just a shooting. Let's rewind to another core part of the legal firestorm, the now infamous Freakoffs. According to multiple lawsuits, including those by Cassie Ventura, Grace Omar K, and Lil Rod, these weren't just wild celebrity parties. They were orchestrated, choreographed events where victims were drugged, coerced, and sexually exploited. Sometimes on camera. Lil Rod claims these gatherings had a script. Alcohol laced with unknown substances, prostitutes and underage girls transported into private residences, and rooms rigged for control and documentation. These were not one-off instances. The lawsuits describe them as part of a larger pattern. Victims were allegedly chosen, primed, and subjected to abuse, while Diddy and his inner circle watched, recorded, or worse, participated. And one of the most disturbing parts? The operation allegedly had a logistics manager. Christina Coram, Diddy's longtime assistant, is named in multiple filings as the one who carried the drug kits, yes, kits, in a fanny pack. These weren't party favors. They were toolkits allegedly used to dose the women, render them vulnerable, and control the flow of the night. Christina hasn't been charged, but according to statements by former federal prosecutor Nema Romani, she's a high-value person of interest who may end up cooperating with the feds.
Coram is extremely important. She's Diddy's right-hand woman, and obviously we both work for the DOJ, but when I was a prosecutor, my two best sources of information were always exes, husbands, wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, and employees. They know where the bodies are buried. So she has a lot of criminal exposure, so I expect the feds to lean on her, make her flip, and cooperate in the trial against her boss.
Then there's Christian Combs, who isn't left out of this blueprint. According to the lawsuit filed by Grace Omar K. on December 28, 2022, Christian, while extremely intoxicated, sexually harassed her aboard a yacht chartered by his father. Omar was working as a deckhand that night, not partying. She describes the scene drenched in excess. Passed out celebrities, liquor bottles everywhere, and sex workers slumped on furniture. She says it was impossible to know which bottles were laced and that the party never stopped moving. But somewhere during the chaos, Christian allegedly grabbed her, physically forced her into a cabin, and coerced her into oral sex. Christian has denied the allegations, but in her civil suit, Omar claims the environment wasn't an accident. She says it was curated, with the drugs, the victims, and the location all arranged by Diddy. That's why she named him as a co-defendant, not because he physically committed the assault, but because he allegedly enabled and facilitated the setting that allowed it to happen. By this point, a picture starts forming, not of random, disconnected incidents, but of a playbook, a dark, intentional system that rewarded silence and punished resistance. What the lawsuits describe isn't a scandal, it's an infrastructure. From the private photos to the luxury yachts, from assistants carrying drugs to sons allegedly helping cover shootings, it all starts to look alarmingly structured. The deeper investigators go, the more the same faces appear at the center. Diddy, Justin, Christian, and a handful of loyal insiders. And each story, whether it's the bloody bathroom, the drugged out parties, or the assaults at sea, echoes with the same elements: power, protection, and total control. So the empire's cracking, and Diddy's sons might be next to fall. Subscribe for the full collapse.